In the heart of the 12th century, a time of clashing empires and fervent faith, one name rose to echo through the halls of history, revered by his people and respected by his enemies. This is the story of Saladin, the Kurdish sultan who united a fractured Muslim world and challenged the might of the Crusader kingdoms. Born in Tikrit, in modern-day Iraq, in 1137, an-Nasir Salah ad-Din Yusuf ibn Ayyub, known to the West as Saladin, wasn't destined for greatness by birth. His family served the powerful Zengid dynasty. But from a young age, Saladin displayed a keen intellect and a deep piety that would guide his entire life. His early years were spent not on the battlefield, but in Damascus, a center of learning and culture. He studied theology, law, and poetry, developing a reputation for being more of a scholar than a warrior. But destiny had other plans. In 1164, his uncle, the brilliant General Shirkuh, was sent to Egypt on a military campaign. Saladin, reluctantly at first, went with him. This campaign would be his baptism by fire. Egypt was in turmoil, a prize court between the Crusaders from Jerusalem and the Zengids from Syria. For years, Saladin learned the art of war and diplomacy amidst the shifting sands and complex politics of the Nile. He witnessed betrayals, sieges, and pitched battles, honing his skills under his uncle's tutelage. When Shirkuh became the vizier of Egypt and died just 2 months later, Saladin, against all odds, was chosen as his successor. He was just 31. Many in the Egyptian court underestimated him, seeing a young, quiet man who could be easily manipulated. They were wrong. Saladin moved swiftly to consolidate his power. He reformed the economy, strengthened the military, and established his own Ayyubid dynasty, becoming the Sultan of Egypt. But his vision extended far beyond the Nile. He saw a Muslim world divided, a weakness that the Crusaders had exploited for decades. His life's mission became clear: to unite the Muslim lands of Egypt, Syria, and Mesopotamia under one banner and to reclaim the holy city of Jerusalem, which had been in Crusader hands since 1099. This was no easy task. Saladin spent the next decade fighting not just Crusaders, but rival Muslim emirs who were wary of his growing power. He was a masterful strategist, combining lightning-fast cavalry charges with patient siege warfare. He was also a cunning diplomat, forging alliances and exploiting divisions among his enemies. By 1186, his dream was realized. From Cairo to Aleppo, a vast Islamic empire was united under his rule, ready to face the Crusader states head-on. The stage was set for one of the most famous confrontations in history. The flashpoint came in 1187. A reckless Crusader lord, Raynald of Chatillon, broke a truce by attacking a Muslim caravan, an act of provocation Saladin could not ignore. He swore an oath to deal with Raynald personally. Saladin gathered a massive army, the largest Muslim force seen in generations, and marched into the kingdom of Jerusalem. The Crusaders, led by King Guy of Lusignan, mustered their full strength to meet him. They made a fatal strategic error. They marched their army across a barren, waterless plain to confront Saladin near the Sea of Galilee. Saladin's forces harassed them the entire way, and by the time the Crusader army reached the hills known as the Horns of Hattin, they were exhausted and desperately thirsty. On July 4th, 1187, the Battle of Hattin began. Saladin's forces had surrounded the Crusaders, setting fire to the dry grass to choke them with smoke and heat. The Crusader knights fought with desperate courage, but they were doomed. By the end of the day, the Crusader army was annihilated. King Guy was captured, and the True Cross, their most sacred relic, fell into Muslim hands. True to his word, Saladin personally executed Raynald of Chatillon, but he famously spared King Guy, stating that it is not the custom of kings to kill kings. The victory at Hattin was absolute. It shattered the military power of the Crusader states. With their army gone, their castles and cities were defenseless. Saladin swept through the kingdom, capturing Acre, Jaffa, and Ascalon. One prize remained: Jerusalem. For 88 years, the Holy City had been under Crusader rule. Its conquest by the First Crusade had been a bloodbath. Now, Saladin stood at its gates. After a short siege, the city's defender, Balian of Ibelin, negotiated a surrender. What happened next stands in stark contrast to the events of 1099. Saladin entered Jerusalem not as a vengeful conqueror, but as a merciful victor. There was no massacre. He allowed the Christian inhabitants to ransom their freedom and leave the city peacefully. He even provided guards to ensure their safe passage to the coast. He respected the holy sites of all faiths, earning him a reputation for chivalry and justice that even his enemies acknowledged. The domes of Jerusalem once again echoed with the Muslim call to prayer. The fall of Jerusalem sent shockwaves across Europe, sparking the Third Crusade. This time, the most powerful kings of Christendom answered the call, including the legendary Richard the Lionheart of England. The clash between Saladin and Richard would become the stuff of legend, a duel between two of the greatest military commanders of their age. For 2 years, they fought up and down the Levantine coast. Richard was a brilliant tactician, retaking the city of Acre and winning a key victory at the Battle of Arsuf. But he could never defeat Saladin decisively, and he could never retake Jerusalem. The two leaders developed a strange and profound respect for one another. Stories, perhaps embellished over time, tell of Saladin sending his personal doctors to treat a feverish Richard, and of him sending fresh fruit and ice to his rival's camp. Finally, in 1192, with both sides exhausted, they signed the Treaty of Jaffa. Jerusalem would remain under Muslim control, but Christian pilgrims would be granted safe and free access to their holy sites. It was a pragmatic compromise that ended the Third Crusade. Richard the Lionheart sailed for home, and Saladin returned to his capital in Damascus. But the Sultan's time was short. Just a few months later, in March 1193, Saladin fell ill with a fever and died at the age of 55. When his treasury was opened to pay for his funeral, his advisors were shocked. The ruler of a vast empire, the man who had humbled the Crusaders, had almost no personal wealth. He had given nearly everything he owned away to charity, to the poor and the needy, regardless of their faith. Saladin's legacy is immense. He was a unifier, a liberator, and a paragon of chivalry. He successfully defended his world from foreign invasion and restored Muslim control over Jerusalem, a feat that would not be undone for centuries. But perhaps more importantly, he is remembered not just for his victories on the battlefield, but for his character of it. His justice, his mercy, and his generosity became legendary, creating a powerful image of a noble and honorable leader that has inspired people across cultures and centuries. He wasn't just the general who broke the Crusaders. He was a leader who showed that even in a time of brutal warfare, there could be room for humanity. Thank you for watching. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next journey into history. See you next time.